Alright, I'm back with another Destiny 2 video after some days off because I was traveling for a little while and I can't film videos when I do that. I wanted to talk about this week's reset, which was the end of the Season of the Deep storyline. How many weeks in are we? 6, 8, I don't know. The usual number of weeks until the storyline ends, based on weekly updates. And we got at least one big reveal at the end here, and I wanted to kind of talk about it all. We got a new mission that thankfully was not just run a deep dive. However, the mission was sort of a deep dive because it took place in at least 2 of the deep dive areas, which is fine, whatever. That's not unexpected. I didn't expect them to make an entirely new arena for literally one mission. It had a lot of voice work from all the main members of, at least the Guardian members of the season, and Xivu, Zavala, Saladin, Saint, and then Xivu. I think maybe it was more. But we had the traditional yelling about how someone's doing something on the flank and someone is taking on this group, and of course, we don't see any of this because Destiny does not really have a friendly AI system at all. That's something as the series evolved, that's something I kind of hope to see in the future. Actual kind of companion AI in the game, so we can do story missions where there's actually someone alongside us fighting, and not just Zavala and Saint popping a bubble and us standing in it, which has happened like twice. So yeah, the mission was fine. They were trying to take, or Xivu was trying to take Asha, which would have been bad, probably. I don't really know what the goal of that was, only that taking things is bad and she is an ally, and we don't want that to happen. So we stopped that. I kind of thought it was going to be a trap, like Xivu was like laughing by the end, and they're like, "We did it, everyone, we did it," and I thought there was going to be some like big, actually you didn't do it, like F you, and some Xivu trap that happened, but that did not happen. I mean, we're certainly not done with Xivu because we didn't fight Xivu, and I guess we foiled temporarily one of her plans, but the problem with Xivu is like, the more things you kill, the stronger she gets, so we haven't really found a way around that. Rasputin sacrificed himself so she wouldn't use the war sats, and so we couldn't use the war sats against her, because both of those outcomes would have just resulted in everyone dying. So now we are arriving at the final cutscene here, which was not one of those ink blot cutscenes. It was Sloane temporarily being taken over by Xivu Arath, which I'm not 100% sure how that happened. I guess through her taken things on her that allows Xivu to communicate through her, not just Asha to communicate through her. We got some little glimpses of like her cowering on Titan, which I assume is like a manifestation of her fear and trauma from being left there alone. She chose to be left there alone, but you know, whatever. Then Asha gave us the final reveal. I guess spoilers follow. I don't know why you're watching this if you don't want spoilers. That's the way we can get through the portal. We have to consult someone very specific, and that someone is Savathun. So we end, after that, we have a little communication, conversation dialogue with Saint, Saladin, and Zavala, where, of all people, Zavala is now advocating for the resurrection of Savathun, where Saladin is not on board with that, and says Kaido will not be pleased. Saladin is, like, very, very into serving Kaido now. Like, it went from, like, him being reluctant to do it to, like, save Crow to him, like, being, like, full-on Cabal now, which is a little weird. And then Saint doesn't want to do it because of the whole history with Osiris, and he doesn't want, like, he hates her, obviously, for what she did to Osiris, which is understandable. I think it was not the wildest plot turn. Maybe the timing was a little unexpected, but, you know, if you played the Witch Queen and we killed Savathun at the end, the moment her ghost, Imaru, disappeared, and we couldn't squash the ghost there, it was pretty apparent that Savathun would return at some point. We've gotten some lore about Savathun being dissected by Eris. The Vanguard took possession of her body, presumably so Imaru could not resurrect her. But the ghost can resurrect anyone, no matter how long they've been dead, so they just have to connect again. As we know, our ghost resurrects us all the time. It's not a particularly complicated process. I do wonder if there's going to be some way that this gets dragged out over 6 to 8 weeks, or if it's something that might just happen at the beginning of the season, and Savathun returns as a character telling us to do whatever thing for 8 weeks to prepare for portal entry. It always made sense that Savathun would return, not just in terms of the Umaru thing, but also because Bungie's doing its Avengers Endgame thing, where we assemble not just all the cool Guardians, but we have at least one representative from every major enemy race at this point, minus the Vex. Well, maybe a little bit the Vex with Asher Mir. I don't know. We'll see if that manifests in any meaningful way in the future. We are doing some stuff with the Vex and the Veil. Cloudstriders are like part Vex, so maybe that's like their attempt to have like Vex on our side. We're still like learning stuff about the connection between the Veil, the Cloudstriders, and the Vex, but we know that Cloudstriders were made at least in part using Vex technology. But in terms of the other races, obviously we have Mithrax and House Light, Keitel and her troops, and now it certainly makes sense that we were going to gain a Hive ally, and that Hive ally would be Savathun. We have many instances in the past where, even though Savathun has done a lot of stuff that is bad to us, she allegedly saved Earth from total destruction during the collapse. She moved the Veil to thwart the Witness. She killed Rolk in the process of doing that, and that's why his pyramid is derelict in her throne world. And she is a very clear enemy of the Witness, so enemy of my enemy is my friend, etc. So this is happening pretty quickly. There's only 2 more seasons before the final shape, though, so we either had to resurrect her this next season or the one after that. So, it had to be one of those. And, I'm not really surprised at this turn. This has been a weird season because almost nothing happened plot-wise for the first 5 or 6 weeks or so. And then we got that insane cutscene, just insane, about explaining all the origins of the Witness and the Traveler and the Pyramid and the Veil. Like, literally the most important information that has ever been put in the game, I would say, just in the random part of a middle of a season. Bungie specifically said that this cutscene would be available in the future and not be killed off when they sunset all the seasons, as they always do. Just a really strange place to put that. I maintain that should have been at the end of Lightfall. It makes no sense to put it here. Not really at all. I guess the Asha telling us what's going on thing makes some amount of sense, but I feel like there could have been another way to learn that. And then we got this week with the Witch Queen. Everything else was just sort of like everyone asking Sloane if she was okay over and over and over again in many different ways. The past year or so, I think Destiny has leaned a little bit too hard in this like therapy storyline of like every character facing their demons. Like literally, Season of the Haunted was everyone being haunted by their demons to some extent, and the ones we got to see play out were Nightmares haunting Crow, Zavala, and Keitel. Everyone dealing with their various traumas. Zavala with his family, Crow with who he used to be, Keitel with her father and her ex-boyfriends. They weren't actually boyfriend. Her ex-rival with Gaul. And then there was some stuff in the lore too, where Ikora, her person was Cade. As we've seen, Cade is returning for the final shape. So that can be resolved. And we've done this in the past too. The whole plot of Shadowkeep was Eris confronting her nightmares, and like that's why she kind of helped everyone through in Season of Haunted. Season of Plunder was about Mithrax confronting his violent past and dealing with that as he's being taunted by Aramis. And then we had Sloane. I don't remember if we did any of this last season, but I don't know if it's trauma with Rasputin and stuff, but then this season we're doing the trauma of Sloane being left behind. It's kind of the same thing over and over and over again, and like I get that it's like trying to be character development, but it's various people facing the demons of their past for like an entire year. Like that was a lot. And I think we kind of need to move on from this. Also, we've done the making an enemy into a friend storyline for 2 years now, and like that is cool again, like, but it just keeps happening in sort of the same way with Mithrax, with Keitel. Like, we get it. It seems like it's getting a little repetitive, but we're heading towards the end of the final shape, and then some significant things would happen. I don't know if there's any characters left that haven't dealt with their trauma. Maybe us, the Guardian, but we don't really have a personality or do anything specific, so we don't really exist as a character that has to face things like that, even though we have certainly endured many traumatic things over the years in theory. So now we are heading into the season of Savathun returning, I guess, either at the beginning or the end, most likely, or at the end of the storyline in the middle of the season. And this current season turns into what it usually turns into, which is grinding what you want to grind. We are in the middle of an exotic quest where the first 3 steps involve fishing for exotic fish. Probably my least favorite exotic step ever, because it could take anywhere from 5 minutes to like an hour and a half of fishing to get the exotic fish you want, because exotic fish drop rates are 1%. So on average, it will take you 100 pieces of baits to get the exotic fish. Deeply, deeply exhausting. I don't like fishing. Like, I get that it was like a fun gag that Destiny is fishing now. And like at first I was like, oh cool, they put like some loot there, so it's actually worth doing. Turns out that is not a fun way to farm loot after like the first 3 days, and it's certainly not fun when you have to get an exotic fish, which takes forever a lot of the time, and you have to do that 3 weeks in a row. Like, I don't have an hour to sit around fishing like just to get this thing. Like, I'm gonna have to because I want to do the exotic quest. But get the thing, get it in a Hive statue, and then 3 weeks of that, and then who knows how this will end. I'm assuming something in the final season of the deep dive room, because there's a bunch of Hive statues in those arenas too. Guessing there's going to be some sort of boss fight there, and that's how we'll get the exotic. And then we are heading into what's the event now? Is it Solstice? I think it's Solstice, which that's the EAZ one. They always do the EAZ. Did we do that last year? I feel like we did like 3 or 4 years of the EAZ. I'm not sure if it'll be different this time. We'll see when that rolls around. Boosted weapon XP is usually a thing that they do for events now. I have gotten 3 or 4 patterns on the seasonal weapons. You can't do patterns for dungeon weapons or the reprised Reckoning weapons. Not that really any of the Reckoning weapons are good, but you can do it for the Taken weapons, and there are a couple good ones in there. I've gotten patterns for the shotgun, the SMG, and the pulse rifle. I don't really care about any of the other ones, like the sword or the sniper rifle. Whatever. I have not leveled those at all, so if I do level them, it's going to be during the bonus XP period of the event. As all of you know, I have been mostly throwing all of my time into Diablo. We are probably 3 or 4 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks away from the launch of Diablo's first season, which will involve leveling a whole new character. It's just very hard to sink a ton of time into Destiny right now. I've been playing an hour a week to do seasonal story stuff, essentially. I've been playing when Diablo's down for maintenance, although Destiny is down more often than Diablo, so it often is hard to play because there's some sort of server error or baboon error or whatever's going on. There's, Destiny's taken offline, like, so many technical problems that are just getting worse and worse every single season, and I'm just sort of exhausted with it. And it's interesting. You'd think, like, I don't know, time away from Destiny would be like, okay, I'm ready to circle back to this. I'm not ready yet. Diablo's too good. There are too many other games out. I still need to finish Zelda. I still need to finish Jedi Survivor. I'm not really a Final Fantasy person, but I may end up playing that at some point just because everyone really loves it. And I played 15, 10, 8? I've never played Final Fantasy 7. Yes, I know. But, maybe I'll give 16 a shot at some point. But yeah, so now we kind of surf into maintenance mode for the season. Exotic quest will be something. I'm not expecting the exotic quest to be like 0 hour or something like that. It would be nice to have that elaborate of an exotic quest. I do wonder if the arrival of dungeons has maybe hampered exotic quest development a little bit. We did just get the whole Vex Caliber thing, so that was pretty elaborate. I'll give them credit for that. But I don't know if we're just going to go immediately into another one of those. So we'll see how it goes. I'll find some time to fish, I guess. Christ. Okay. Well, we'll see. But that's kind of a recap of not only Reset, but like the whole season essentially. And I need to get through the Battle Pass. I'm like level 52 in the Battle Pass, which is unheard of for me. Like I would have gotten to 100 3 weeks ago normally, like in a normal time of playing Destiny, but just don't feel a reason to. But I do want to get to 100 because I really want all of those armor ornaments because they're very good. But other than that, like I'm really behind in like all my usual grinds for Destiny, but I just don't care really. The weapon chases become very, very hard because I just don't feel the need to get it. Like for a while I was just obsessed with like getting everything you can craft to level 20, but it's just now it's just kind of like, why? Like outside of very rare occasions with some wild perk combo, like it just doesn't seem necessary. Like I'm using Chroma Rush on my Warlock, like right now, the ancient Season of the Displacer weapon, which is still good. Like, do I need a better auto rifle than that at all? Probably not. And like, there's just so many old favorites you can rely on at this point that playing Diablo has led me to think that Destiny has a real problem with loot. But I'm not going to get into that again. I did a whole video on that. And as my neighbor begins to cut grass, that's probably time to call it a day here. I will be back to making videos for the next few days. I've been taking weekends off now because I have a son and I have family time. So that is generally why I don't do videos on weekends. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.